All right, we're solving more rational equations today, starting on page 227. What do you notice? What are you under? Is the warm-up. All right, I would never solve this way because that's my job, is to try and make it easier for you people. I'm going to go with the method of if the denominators are the same, then the numerators are the same. Right here, I'm going to put a parentheses, and they're almost the same, but there's an x missing. So I'm going to multiply the bottom of the fraction by x. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the top. So you can do that, multiply the bottom and the top by the same thing. So for example, if you had 1/2, you could multiply the top of 1/2 by 5 and the bottom by 5, right? And you would get 5 out of 10, which is also 1/2. So you can multiply the numerator and the denominator by, by the same number. Let me get some water here. Okay, so after you do that, the denominators are the same, so the numerators are the same. We said that the other day. So we have 2 times this, or x times this would be 2x squared. X times the 1 is plus x is equal to 3. And that's what happened right there. So I'm just shortcutting all of that mess. That makes it look a lot harder. Then to solve a quadratic, we subtract over the 3. So 2x squared plus x minus 3 is equal to 0. All right, now, the other thing that we're going to get in today is the puffy cloud. So I'm going to make a puffy cloud here. What's the puffy cloud say? Before you start the problem, what can x not be? So you need to be thinking to yourself, what can x not be? Well, 2 minus 2 would create that vertical asymptote, which means you're dividing by 0. So 2 minus 2, so x cannot be 2. Also, if x was 0, that would be a problem because you'd be dividing by 0. So you cannot divide by 0. So you can't divide by 0. All right? So then we get this equation here, and then we solve our quadratics by factoring. So this is good practice, reviewing all that good stuff. And the 3 needs to go here, the 1 needs to go there. 3x needs to be positive, and then 2x needs to be negative. So 2x negative, 3x positive makes 1x in the middle. A negative times a positive is that. Then we do zero product property. This never goes away. X minus 1 is equal to 0. X is equal to 1. Subtract the 3 over. 2x is negative 3. Divide by 2. X is negative 3 over 2. Now, did any of these line up in our puffy cloud? No. So these are both good solutions. So these are both good solutions. All right, so here we go. We're going to solve this one. This one here, I'm not going to make them the same because it's harder that way. I'm going to cross multiply. So when I cross multiply, I'm going to put my parentheses here. But before I start, I'm going to make the puffy cloud. Puffy cloud. So x cannot be 0, because 0, right? And then what else can x not be? Something plus 1 makes it 0. We've done this 100 times, right? Negative 1 plus 1 would make it 0. So that cannot happen in this problem. So now we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to do x times the top. So we get x times 5x plus 5 is equal to 5 times the bottom, 5 times the denominator. So it's 5 times x plus 1. Then we got the whole green is go. So we do distribute, 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 distribute. All right. This is going to turn into a quadratic as well, just like the warm-up. So you're going to get a quadratic equals something. Then we got to move everything to the same side of the equation, right? And then factor, and then set your factors equal to 0. So try this. Cross multiply, get a quadratic, make it be equal to 0, factor it, then you're going to set each factor equal to 0. Give it a try and see if you can do it. All right, here we go. 5x squared plus 5x is equal to 5x plus 5. So we're going to subtract over the 5x. Ooh, that's good news. Oh, I'm not going to set it equal to 0. So 5x squared is equal to 5. I misled you. Don't set it equal to 0, because when you lose that x term, it's actually easier to do simple algebra. All right, now you take the square root of each side, and the square root of 1 is just 1, but you can't forget the plus or minus, because you can square two things to get 1, and that's plus or minus 1, right? So plus or minus 1. Let me get rid of that comma right there. Comma's gone. There's gone. So we can say equals -1 or 1. So there's two answers to it. But then when you go look at the puffy cloud, -1 can't work in the original problem. So you can't put -1 back in the original problem. So this gets canceled out. So x equals 1 is the only solution. And then the -1, we call that an extraneous solution. Extraneous is extra, but extra in a bad way. So it's an extra solution that's bad. So this is the good solution. Good, right? Bad. All right. That's what we do in general, is just kind of a cross multiply. Sometimes it's a quadratic, sometimes it's just linear. So let's do a linear one. So C is going to be linear. So there's this whole convoluted thing about picking some out and trying some. So we're not going to solve all of these, but for practice we're going to solve a few together. We're going to do C first because it's linear. So we have, I'm going to give you a piece of paper and you can do them with me right on a piece of paper. There's just not enough room here to do these. I don't understand what the author person is thinking about. So here we go. So we're going to cross multiply for C. I picked out C first because it is linear. How do I know it's linear? Because I'm just going to get X. Okay, puffy cloud. X cannot be 8, right? Because 8 minus 8 is 0. And then X cannot be what else? -8. That's right. So now we cross multiply. Before we cross multiply, we gotta put our parentheses here. So 5 times the quantity x plus 8 is equal to 10 times the quantity x minus 8. I wrote 10 by accident. That's why I got my handy dandy whiteout right there. All right, green means go, but I've already written in green, so I guess purple means go. So distribute and get x by itself. Work ahead of me, get x. Hopefully it's not 8 or -8. So we get 5x plus 40 is equal to 10x minus 80. That looks good. Move the smaller amount of x, so I'm going to subtract over the 5x. So we get 40 is equal to 5x minus 80. Now we're going to add over the 80. Get 120 is equal to 5x. Then we're going to divide by 5. Get x by itself. So the answer is not 8 or -8, is it? It's 120 divided by 5, which is more than 20. Is it 24? I think so. 120 divided by 5 is 24. Look at that. Math genius. 24. Boom. All right. So did you see why we need a little bit more room here than trying to squeeze it in here? All right. Let's do one that's a quadratic. And let's do F. F is a quadratic. So F is 1 over x is equal to 1 over x times x plus 1. So x, puffy cloud, x cannot be 0 because you're to be dividing by 0. And then the other one is, that's right, -1. Those are the two bad solutions. Now we cross multiply. X times 1 is just x. And this times this is just x times x plus 1. Okay, we distribute. Purple means go this time. Boom, boom, boom. And we get x squared plus x is equal to x. Ooh. we get, yes, that's correct. Yes. So then this one here, when we subtract the x over, we get 0 is equal to x squared. So therefore x is 0. But x can't be 0. So that means this one has no solution. Done. Let's do B now. B, 2x plus 1 over x is equal to, so I'm just copying it right there, is equal to 1 over x minus 2. So it's x plus 2, x plus 1 over x, yeah. All right, so this one here is a little bit more challenging because it did say to do a medium one and a medium one and a harder one and at the end here. So we're just kind of doing that right now. But I'm choosing for you. All right, cross multiply. In parentheses, puffy cloud, x cannot be 0 and x cannot be 2, because 2 minus 2 is 0 and 0 would be dividing by 0. So if we get those at the end, we know that they are wrong. Cross multiply, 2x plus 1 quantity, x minus 2 is equal to 1 times x is x. So this will be kind of like the other page where we get everything equal to 0 and get a quadratic and stuff like that. So this times this would be 2x squared, this times this would be minus 4x, this times this is x, this times this is minus 2 equals x. Put our x's together, 2x squared minus 3x minus 2 is equal to x. Bring the x over. So we're going to subtract the x over so we can set it equal to 0. So we get 2x squared minus 4x minus 2 is equal to 0. Now I'm going to show you a trick here. We're going to divide everything by 2 to make it simpler to factor. So we get x squared minus 2x minus 1 is equal to 0. And I believe this has no solution to it. Hang on a second. Let me pause here for a second. Well, that's a fine how do you do. This one here you have to solve. It doesn't factor. You have to solve it with the quadratic formula. So we haven't reviewed the quadratic formula, so yeah, we're going to skip this one. This is definitely a harder one. So we won't do any, I won't throw anything at you like that for the test or the quiz because we review the quadratic formula later. All right, so let's do another one to clean our palette from that mess. Let's let's try G, see if that's better. G would be x plus 2 over x is equal to 3 over x minus 2. All right, let's try this one and see if it works out better. So this is G right here, and it's right there, G. Yes, yes. So puffy cloud, x cannot be 0, x cannot be 2 again. They're kind of very themed up this way, aren't they? All right, so cross multiply. X plus 2 times the quantity x minus 2 is equal to 3x. Now we're going to do the same thing that we tried to do over here, and hopefully we get a better quadratic at the end that factors. So we get x squared minus 2x plus 2x minus 4 is equal to 3x. So we get x squared minus 4, because the middles cancel out, is equal to 3x. Subtract the 3x over. Here we go. X squared minus 3x minus 4 is equal to 0. Now we're on the track. Okay, so we're going to factor. So we get x and x, 4 and 1. The 4 needs to be negative. So we get a negative 3 in the middle. The 1 needs to be positive. So we get our two answers, how we've done 100 times. X is 4, which is good, and negative 1, negative 1, 4, negative 1. So if I put 4 here, I get 6 over 4, which is 3 halves, right? And if I put 4 there, I get 3 over 2, which is 3 halves. So if I put negative 1 in here, I get 1 over 1, or 1 over negative 1, which is negative 1. And if I put negative 1 there, I get 3 over negative 3, which is also negative 1. So yeah, these are good solutions. They're both good. Yay! All right, so we solved these equations. They typically do this a very convoluted way on the on the orange page. They talk about extraneous solution, so I didn't make that word up. So sometimes you can get an extraneous solution. Now we're ready for the purple page.